Hello everyone, Hug here, and today I am bringing you another little bit of a different video. I wanted to cover a few of the current Frostmage raid builds that you can play. In this video, we will be covering the Ray of Frost single target build. As for the talents of this build, this is mostly how this is going to look. You can opt in to play called the Snap, but I would highly recommend sticking with this build. If you play Ray of Frost, which technically according to The Sims is a DPS loss in single target, this is the build you would play. It is a lot of preference. You will see a lot of the logs play with this build, even if it is a DPS decrease. But these are the talents you're going to play. The mage tree pretty much stays the same no matter what build you're playing. It can vary a little bit depending on which boss you're playing, but generally this is kind of what you're gonna want to be playing. The hero talent build, same there, this doesn't change pretty much ever. There are a couple of talents here that are preference talents, but Slippery Sling in gets you the work done. Reactive Barrier is pretty strong. Phantasmal Image isn't that much stronger. Reactive Barrier just gives you more value throughout the fights. And then of course Volatile Magic instead of Unerring Proficiency. And most importantly, you need to make sure you have Signature Spell. Shifting Shards is not as strong. As for the rotation, we're going to open with our Frostbolt, Flurry, Comet Storm into our Orb and then our Ray combination. This can be a little bit hectic, but keep practicing on a dummy and you'll get there as well. Now, as we do with our AoE and our AoE single target rotation, we want to make sure we keep our Orb off cooldown. So whenever we get a proc, we're instantly going to be sending it. Then, of course, we're going to be using Glacial Spike as soon as we have it available. We're going to use Fingers of Frost to fill all the gaps and try not to use Frostbolt. We are using Fingers of Frost even without Winter's Chill on the target with this build in single targets. We're going to keep shuffling. We're going to use our Frostbolts to try and get a couple of Flurry procs so that we can send our Glacial Spikes. Now, we are not going to be using a Glacial Spike unless we can shatter it with a Flurry. Likewise, we're not going to use Ray of Frost unless we have Winter's Chill on the target to guarantee that it crits. We want to try and use Comet Storm with a Ray when we can in order to make sure we get that 6% increased spell damage on the target. Now we're going to use Shifting Power pretty much on cooldown, assuming Ice Veins is on cooldown. We want to make sure we get all of our spells back, and that of course includes Ray of Frost itself. We keep shuffling, we're doing the normal single target rotation. We're using Comet Storm when we have Winter's Chill on the target to make sure that it also shatters. And then we're just generating Glacial Spikes, using mostly Ice Lances, and then of course Frostbolts when we have to. The rotation is fairly similar all the way around. I will let this video play out so that you can see a longer pull of what it would look like without CDs and also in CDs when you're in the fight. I will not be using Spy Masters in this video, but when you're in a raid fight you would want to be using Spy Masters, typically going with your third Icy Veins, which will be around the 3-minute mark if the fight is short. If you think you'll get another Ice Veins out, then you would use it with the Ice Veins after that. If the fight goes beyond 8 minutes, then you could use Ice Veins around your third, or you could use Biomasters with your third Ice Veins, and then you can use it again with your, I think it will be your 6th or 7th Ice Vein. A good example of this would be Silken Court. And now we're very dry here, so we're just using Frostbolt. And then we're trying to fish, we're not sending Glacial, we're not sending Ray. Once you have a Flurry, you go into Glacial Flurry, you make sure you munch one of the Winter's Chills before you send your Ray in order to not overcap on your procs. And then we're just doing the normal rotation, utilizing our Ice Lances. And that is fairly straightforward how the rotation is going to look like for you playing this build in single targets. So, as for the damage breakdown, we're going to be looking at something along the lines of this. Our Glacial Spike obviously is going to be doing a lot of damage. We're going to have our Ice Lance as well, as we're using it as our base filler. We're trying to cast Ice Lance more often than, for example, Frost Bolts. Ray of Frost naturally is going to be doing a lot of damage too. And even though Ray of Frost sims less, which people always wonder, why does it sim less? Look, it's doing a lot of damage for you in single target. Well, the amount of time you spend casting Ray of Frost, technically you gain more from spending time generating Glacial Spikes and generating more Splinters. Now, naturally, Splinters, they're doing a lot of damage. Splinter, Splinter Storm, Embedded, and so on. Frozen Orb, as well, does a lot of damage, even in single target. Our Flurries, Comet Storm, we're mostly using Comet Storm to generate the damage buff that we get from the Glacial Assault talent. And then we have Frostbolt at the very end, and a couple other passives. Now, I am using the Radiant Power here, so if you're using Authority of the Depths, which is the single target weapon enchant, then you would do slightly more damage as well. So I hope that you managed to pick up something from this video. I hope it was helpful in any way. If you have any questions about this build, feel free to leave it in the comments. The other builds will get their own videos so that you can choose which videos you want to watch depending on what fits your needs. So please leave the comments about the Ray of Frost build to this video, and then when I post the other videos in the coming days, you can ask the questions about those builds in that comment section. But without further ado, thank you for watching, have a great day, and as always, I'll see you next time.